AM 590, KXSP Omaha's ESPN Radio. It's time for the Metro's only racing talk show. The Front Stretch, presented by Joe's Karting in Council Bluffs. Now, here's Dan Taylor and Buddy Ray.
Good morning, race fans, and welcome to the Front Stretch, presented by Joe's Karting in Council Bluffs, online at joeskarting.com. That's karting with a K. Big show lined up for you today. Let me get to my right page. We're going to do a little bit of jib-jab about the walk down Sunset Lane and Holiday Horsepower Drive. You guys are finally done. Everything's nipped, tucked, and wrapped up. All done for the holiday season. We'll talk a lot about that. In turn 2, Iowa Speedway announced their brand new president for what? This is how I'm all messed up now. Jimmy Small was announced as President of Iowa Speedway. Comes over from NASCAR, down from North Carolina in Daytona Beach. So Jimmy's going to come up and take over our favorite little track just down the road. In turn 3, we're going to continue the Legends of the Dirt Series. Don't do it. Johnny the Jet Sadoff is going to join us. Kaziski Auto Parts bringing us the Legends of the Dirt Series. And Johnny's going to join us and talk to us in turns 2, 3, and turns 4 about his career. That's the big show we got lined up for you. With all of that being said, dude, it's Christmas in 3 days.
Yep.
Did you get your shopping done yet?
You bet.
Yeah.
I went to McDonald's, got me a $20 gift card on the dollar menu. My wife's going to eat breakfast really good.
That's 20 meals and 2 heart attacks. You're doing good for $20.
I'm telling you. I mean, if you're going to go out of this world, you might as well go out of this world eating Mickey D's.
You'd have thought you'd have 8 years of being together. You couldn't have upgraded to Taco Bell or Taco John's. You couldn't have upgraded to a faster fast food restaurant.
McDonald's is closer to my house.
That's true. It is just
so
down the road. It is just down the road. All right. Let's talk. You want to talk walk down Sunset Lane or Holiday Horsepower Drive first?
I don't care.
Let's do a walk down Sunset Lane because it's fresh in my memory, and you know how easily things can slip my head very quickly. Confirmed this week that they will be attending is Glenn Roby, Bill Rick, still waiting on Bob Kaziski, Jim Wyman. We were trying to get Jim, but he's in Arizona, so he's not going to be able to join us. Joe and Steve Kaziski are going to be there. Kyle Burke, still waiting for a phone call back from Kyle. Leon Zeitner's going to be there, and Dave Chase should be able to join us. I don't see a problem with that, but I haven't gotten a call back yet.
I might try to give John Kinney Jr. a call.
I've heard stories about this guy, and I'm excited to talk to him. I've heard some good stories about John's time at Sunset. Basically, if you guys haven't heard about it yet, you need to start listening to the show a little bit more often. The walk down Sunset Lane at Quaker Steak and Lube in Council Bluffs, it's less than 6 weeks away. In fact, we are 32 days away. Today, we are 32 days away from the walk down Sunset Lane. Happens at 6 o'clock, and originally we were going to do a 1-hour show. But
it's not. You're not going to be able to cover Sunset in 1 hour.
No way. No. We were going to try to split it up into 2 different segments. The first one was going to be the early years. The second one was going to be the later years. First one was going to have guys like Glenn Roby, Bob Kaziski, Bill Rick. Who else? Stan Caesar is going to be there to help tell stories because he grew up there.
The voice of the Speedway.
Yeah, and then we were going to do segment number 2, which was going to be Joe and Steve Kaziski, Kyle Burke, Leon Zeitner, Dave Chase, and then also have Luke Cochran join us. But then everyone was telling me, says, guys, you don't have enough time. No way you guys are going to be able to, you're going to edit out so much good material. And so we said, you know what? To heck with it. Let's just do 2 shows. So, segment 1, which was originally going to be 30 minutes, is going to be show number 1 that's going to air on January 26th. Then it's going to be the early years. And then show number 2 is going to be the later years, where guys like Steve and Joe dominated at that track. And Dave Chase had his success there. And I was talking with Dave Chase's granddaughter online today, earlier this week actually, and she's telling me some little pranks that the Kaziskis and the Chases used to do back and forth. We're going to talk about those that Wednesday night. So much is going on. It's getting really exciting for this. We're also working out to get this 8x8 nice card stock, nice hard poster that we're going to have Donnie from Fuse Magazine. He's going to create a big old picture for us, and then we're going to put it on this nice card stock poster, and we're going to have all the drivers autograph it. So anybody that comes out can pick up this poster and can have all their favorite drivers or everybody out there autograph it, and then they've got a nice little keepsake to take home for them for the walk down Sunset Lane. Hope you can join us. Quaker Steak and Lube in Council Bluffs. 32nd Avenue in Council Bluffs. It's right next to the Mid-America Center, right over there by Joe's Karting. We're going to start at 6 o'clock, and frankly, we're going to end when the beer runs out.
Pretty much.
We're going to have a great time. You come down, please. And this is the other thing we added to it today, was bring whatever you have that remembers Sunset Lane. Do you have a piece of memorabilia from there? Maybe you've got a seat. Maybe you've got a koozie. Maybe you've got a cooler. Maybe it's whatever. It's a hat. It's a T-shirt. Bring it with you.
Maybe you got some dirt left in your race car. Bring it on down.
Bring it with you. And tell us that story. There's going to be a fan segment time during every one of these segments so fans can come up and ask these guys questions and talk to them about their different experiences. It's going to be a fantastic time, and I don't know if you can tell, but I'm a little excited about it. So much going on. There's a Facebook page, and I encourage everyone, go to the Facebook page. It's an open event. You can join yourself and then invite all of your friends. I really don't want to hear anybody on January 23rd say, oh, man, I didn't know about it. We're trying our best to get the word out to everybody.
And here's a little tip for y'all. You ain't ever going to get these drivers in this room again.
No.
It ain't going to happen. This is a once-in-a-lifetime deal right here.
Exactly. I mean, Bill Rick, Bob Koziski. I mean, we've had Bob Koziski and Dave Chase on the show before. These guys are coming back. Steve, Joe Koziski, Kyle Burke. Kyle's always going to come on the show, but Leon Zeitner, Dave Chase, and then get all these guys into one room and be able to tell stories. It really is going to be awesome. Let's turn the page now to the Holiday Horsepower Drive. How's your fingers? You got some cuts from wrapping presents last weekend?
Well, see, I like a little slogan in life called work smarter, not harder. Mm-hmm. So I didn't wrap a darn present.
You should act that out rather than just like it.
So, no, Rachel, for the listeners out there, Rachel's my wife. We had a record number.
Is she claiming you're your wife this week?
Well, I don't know. It depends on which. I mean, so you never know what she's doing. I mean, hell, tonight I could be boy toy. Tomorrow I could be man toy.
Easy now. It's a family show. So Rachel, are you going to talk with us? Your microphone, you gonna talk with us at all? Well, talk about the success this year. I mean, Buddy is as scary it is to say it. Buddy's the face of the Holiday Horsepower Drive. You're the actual brains and the brawn behind it. You're the one that makes everything happen. So, talk to me about this year. How big of a success was it?
Friday morning and afternoon, looking at the gifts that were under the tree, it was looking like it was going to be a pretty slim year. Friday evening, Saturday morning, everything came in, and this was a record year for the gifts that were donated. We had a hard time fitting everything in the boxes and in the bags. There was so much stuff.
Every year we have a few things that always come right at the very end there, but I know Friday morning you and I are like, oh my God, this is not looking good. And then, I mean, I went to work Friday morning at 10 o'clock, and I didn't leave work at all that day because I had people coming in all the way up through 9 o'clock. And then you about shot me because it was Friday night going into Saturday morning. You weren't there, and I was like, where are you at? I'm going to go ahead and start putting stuff out on the table. And you're like, no, because you were itemizing it all and whatnot. So,
was there the Frankenstein present again this year?
Not really.
Do you remember the present from last year where he used like 8 different kinds of wrapping paper because it was the last box that needed to get wrapped?
We didn't allow him to wrap presents this year.
Was it because of the Frankenstein present?
We wrapped everything and handed it to him to put in piles on the track for pictures. And he won't be allowed to do that next year either. The pile was too high. Nobody could reach to put it into the truck to deliver.
So far, I'm failing at everything. I might be door greeter and say, welcome to Joe's.
A couple more years and you may not even be the face of the organization.
I'm telling you. I tell you what, though, I think it's safe to say that we pretty much agree that we had a record number of items donated this year.
That's awesome.
That table must have been all of 50 foot long at least. Some of the things that right off the top of my head, we had 191 Frisbees, 141 cups, 137 T-shirts.
1,000 packages of crayons.
Oh, those crayons are great, though. I loved those crayons. I made so many prison drawings.
Yeah, well, you eat them. We use them to color, but...
I only eat the blue ones.
Okay. Well, we saved some extra blue ones for you, but
Thank you.
we all in all, we had a good time. I did run the numbers today for the entire year of 2013. T-shirts, the Racing with the Stars, the stuff that got donated to the hospital, cash money, toys, gifts, you name it, came in right at $30,000.
Holy cow. What was it? Do you know what it was last year?
Last year, it's usually within 25 to 30,000. Last year, I want to say it was 25,000.
Yeah.
So we're 5,000 up, but
all right.
But man, overall this year, 100 kids, 40 NICU babies, older babies. Now, Rachel, you went on a different floor than I did, but I don't know if you noticed this, but we noticed this on my floor. We had a lot of interaction with the kids this year. A lot.
There were a lot of excited kids that as soon as they saw visitors on the floor, came running out of their doors to see what's going on and talk to everybody, and were sad to see us leave.
Oh, yeah. Nobody wanted to see us leave. I mean, you got fist bumps, and I had a little 4-year-old going, wait, car driver, wait, car driver. And for the first time, I felt at home because somebody spoke my language. So he was going, with car driver. And I was like, well, how you doing?
Well, is that because you didn't have any teeth left after your operation, or?
Well, the plastic teeth haven't really set in yet, and Rachel's got to go to Hobby Lobby to get that cement, the rubber cement and glue, so.
All right, we got to get this show continuing. Jimmy Small, just around the corner, brand new president for Iowa Speedway. We'll talk about his plans. Interns 3 and 4, Johnny the Jet Sadoff. And then we're back next weekend. Big show lined up for you. Wade Cross is going to join us. Tom Gutowski is going to join us. Then Don O'Neill. It's going to be a great night. I hope you can join us next weekend. But in the meantime, let's talk to Jimmy Small, Iowa Speedway, our favorite little track just down the road. This is The Front Stretch, presented by Joe's Karting on AM 590, Omaha's ESPN Radio.
This is Andrew from Koziski Auto Parts. Koziski Auto Parts is an insurance-quality used parts supplier that can match your foreign or domestic car or truck needs. If you have a damaged or broke-down car or truck, we guarantee a clean and quality part in next-day fashion. Koziski Auto Parts, your neighborhood premium recycled parts supplier. Call any Koziski Auto Parts salesman today by dialing 402-731-4592. Or visit us at 5040 I Street in Omaha. Koziski Auto Parts. Our quality used parts will match your car or truck's needs.
We're working the High Line into Turn 2 on the Front Stretch, presented by Joe's Karting. Online at joeskarting.com.
Heading into Turn 2 here on the Front Stretch, presented by Joe's Karting in Council Bluffs, online at joeskarting.com. That's karting with a K, and we're joined by a special guest, new resident to Newton, Iowa, and the brand new president for Iowa Speedway, Jimmy Small, joining us on the program. Jimmy, thanks so much for joining us.
Hey, Dan, thanks for having me. I'm really excited to be on with you and excited to be here representing Iowa Speedway.
Well, I've been doing a little bit of research about you, and I tell you what, it looks like we are going to be very fortunate to have you. Just 28 years old, and yet you have risen to the ranks to be president of a speedway.
Been very fortunate to be put in the right places at the right times, and I pride myself in taking advantage of every opportunity that's been in front of me. Over the last 6 years, I've tried to turn those 6 into 15 in terms of experience, and I'm confident that I have, and it's due to the support staff that I've worked with at NASCAR and now at Iowa Speedway. The folks here, the staff here are remarkable, passionate, and intelligent individuals, and we're going to accomplish a lot here.
Man, I got to tell you, at 28 years old, I got a cat, and I thought I was taking on some responsibilities. You're now in charge of a speedway in small-town Iowa. I mean, holy cow.
Yeah, it's quite a pet, right?
I know. I get so much crap on having a cat, but oh well, who cares? Let's talk a little bit about who exactly Jimmy Small is. You come from Michigan, but when you're not on duty, not dealing with NASCAR, not trying to promote a speedway, what do you like to do for fun?
I try to stay active. I grew up playing a lot of the stick and ball sports growing up in Michigan, and obviously was a fan of all sports growing up. And so I try to play pickup basketball when I can, and obviously work out when I can as well. So that takes up, honestly, a lot of what limited free time I have, because frankly, Dan, I'm very passionate about this job and this sport, and I spend a lot of time focusing on it because this opportunity and this speedway are just so important to me. So looking forward to experiencing Des Moines, though. I'll live downtown and take all that they have to offer, but spend a lot of time up here in Newton as well. I love the little downtown there, and just really look forward to being out here full time. Being
from Detroit, are you a hockey fan?
Honestly, no.
That's okay. I'm not.
I like the sport of hockey. I like the live version of hockey. I love going to hockey games, but I've always been an underdog fan my whole life, Dan. Yeah. And being from Hockey Town and growing up watching the Red Wings win over and over and over again, it was, I was more focused on the Detroit Pistons and the Detroit Lions and the Detroit Tigers. And my grandfather is actually a Detroit Tiger alum, was drafted out of high school by the Tigers back in the 50s. So we have a strong connection to the Tigers through my family. So I spent a lot of my time, focusing on them and rooting for the underdog. And sure enough, I got to see the Pistons win a world championship back in 2004 and have seen the Tigers, let 2 slip away in the last few years.
That's always heartbreaking to see those.
It is. Oh, it is.
But we don't have much of a major sports team where we're at over here in Omaha and Council Bluffs. But we've got our pro teams. The Huskers have let a couple of them get away, and I'm an Iowa Hawkeye fan, and Lord knows we've let plenty get away as Hawkeyes.
Certainly. I actually had the opportunity, Dan, to go over to the University of Iowa last week when Notre Dame was playing in town. I was able to get a ticket, and I left the Speedway a little bit after dark, and the fog was so dense, I only got about 30 miles east, and I'm embarrassed to admit that I turned around and drove back to Altoona and only caught the second half, and it was a heck of a game, but
yeah.
We also lost. So
yeah, and
Iowa's got a strong basketball team this year, and so does Iowa State.
Oh, we're really excited about it. I think Iowa and Iowa State both have a really good chance of making it into the to March Madness. So only time will tell.
Yes, sir.
Back to talking about Jimmy Small a little bit, the new president for Iowa Speedway. I know it's always kind of a little bit of a political, just kind of an iffy thing to talk about, but do you have a favorite driver, somebody that you've rooted for over the years, whether it be any one of the 3 national touring series?
I don't. Part of my job or part of our job at Industry Services within NASCAR is to work with every team, every track, and every driver. So you get to know everyone across the entire sport, and there's so many unique personalities and genuine people in our sport, and the same thing can be said about our fans, that it's hard to pick a favorite. What we really cherish is just great door-to-door exciting racing, and we certainly have that here at Iowa Speedway. So really looking forward to kicking off the 2014 season and getting everyone out here.
And that leads me to my next question with the 2014 season. What are you going to be looking to make a couple of maybe just some minor changes for 2014, or are you going to let 2014 be it and then make some changes in 2015?
We'll look to make changes as soon as we can. So we're still in the stages of development right now. We've been working tirelessly over the last 2 years to develop a lot of plans, initiatives, and ideas that would ultimately drive fan engagement and growth across our sport. And I assure you when I say this that from the top down on the NASCAR corporate side, this is something that's very interesting, exciting, and anticipated. This acquisition back there at the home base. So we're really excited about doing things as soon as possible, and we've been contacted by a lot of sports and entertainment properties since our announcement just a few weeks ago. So we'll consider all of that. We'll get to know the market a little bit better. We may ask the fans, what they want to see, and ultimately make smart, calculated decisions.
There's going to be a little bit of a change when you come from Detroit or North Carolina to go to Iowa Speedway. It's a culture shift, but I think you've got a little bit of that growing up in Detroit. Do you think? I mean,
Sure.
It's not too far away, so I feel like you would have a good grasp rather than we picked up somebody from California or down in Florida that it's a completely different culture.
Yes, the culture and the values out here are very similar to my upbringing, especially within my family. I remember the first night I flew in here on a Sunday night. I arrived at the Des Moines airport, and I came down the escalator walking towards baggage claim, and I couldn't believe the amount of people that were sitting in the seats there just outside of the convenience store waiting for loved ones, friends, family, and you just don't see that in many places, and that really touched me, and it also set the tone for my experience here so far. I've been under the radar, but the treatment anyone receives out here is so genuine and so caring, and that's very similar to my upbringing. So I feel very home out here. And then obviously I share a great passion for NASCAR, and the NASCAR fans we have here in Iowa are tremendous and considered some of the best we have in the world. So really feel at home already here, and can't wait to meet more people and do more fun things.
One great thing about NASCAR is that when you purchase a ticket to a race, you're not just sitting down in your seat watching 200, 300, 400 laps of racing. There's a complete experience that goes along with it, whether it be meet and greets, fan experiences out front, concerts. Is that some of the things that we're going to be able to enjoy now that you're at the helm at Iowa Speedway?
Yes, sir. It's hard to be specific about what that means right now. But again, our experience from the industry services side at NASCAR the last 6 years, I have and my colleagues have personally worked on initiatives that have driven fan engagement. That includes autograph session. That there are a number of ideas we've been working on to make the experience that much better, to give you goosebumps, to give you that big event feel or that it deserves. Obviously, these are big events, so we want to do them justice and have the fans smiling from the moment they arrive to the moment they leave, and then in between events, just eager with anticipation. So what that means right now is still to be determined, but that's where it gets my heart, my mind racing, because I absolutely love thinking about what we can do here.
Well, we can't wait for it. It's very exciting, and I know when I was reading up your bio sheet, I was very excited to read. I mean, you're part of the industry services, which I kind of feel like it's a great training ground for presidents of speedways, because you're adding that value that we just talked about. You've got the experience of doing that, and you've got the connections.
Absolutely, it's been a pleasure working under Jill Gregory, who will continue to oversee this project from the NASCAR side, and we'll continue to develop and share best practices across our entire industry. So we'll work with other speedways, we'll work with teams to develop new promotions and find ways to have a good time here. It's going to be all about fun, Dan. We're going to have a really good time starting this coming season.
Are you a dirt track fan at all?
Absolutely.
Good. We love hearing that.
From the yeah, absolutely. We from the NASCAR side, obviously we run the national series, and those seem to be the prominent series, but we also run a number of grassroots series, and those are so much fun to go to. You get the short tracks with the dirt racing, you got guys wide open, running sideways, and the personalities you see there, and some of the developments there during a race are just so much fun to watch, and certainly it's an initiative on NASCAR that we or an emphasis on NASCAR that we develop a lot of these drivers and this type of driving and focus on building these drivers' brands as they rise up through the ranks. So you'll see a focus and an emphasis on that from an Iowa Speedway side. We'll be bringing some of our younger drivers out that have dirt backgrounds, that have some short track experience, and hopefully a number of drivers from Iowa where we can begin promoting them, branding them for the next level of racing.
That's all very exciting, and you've got an open invitation to make your way over to Omaha to see Eagle Raceway, I-80 Speedway. We'd love to have you out at Crawford County Speedway in Denison, Iowa, which is about an hour from you. We'd love to have you down there sometime. Come see what we got here in Iowa for dirt tracking.
That'd be fantastic.
Listen, I wanted to wrap it up with a quick quiz. I don't know if Craig Armstrong here, warned you, but I've got some pretty tough questions here for you about Iowa and Newton. Are you ready?
All right, let's do it.
He said, being a graduate of Notre Dame, this guy's pretty smart, so I may not get anybody.
Hey, Dan, before we begin, I got to ask, how many lifelines will I receive?
I'll give you 2. But you
and those is that call a friend, or is it the audience? What are those?
I'll let you do Google searches, but you can only do one search.
All right, I've got a computer in front of me, so I'm going to take you up on that.
You can only click once. Once you hit the enter button for the Google search, you can only click to one link to get the. All right.
Deal.
What is the state nickname for Iowa?
The Hawkeye State. I learned that easily last week on my trip out to Iowa University.
I worried about that when you said that. I was worried that you were going to get that one really easily. All right, there's a former major appliance company that headquartered itself in Newton, Iowa.
Yeah, it's Maytag, and I believe their dairy farm still exists in the area.
Yep. All right. What major motion picture was shot in Dyersville, Iowa?
Let's see, I want to say Field of Dreams comes to mind first. Final answer.
You got it. Way to go. That was Field of Dreams. Right. You got to go and see it.
How much money was that for that for?
You got to go and see it. That was really good. It was a really cool experience. I got to go and see it one year. What famous actor was born in Winterset, Iowa? And a bit of a hint for you. He was born May 26, 1907.
All right, I'm going to use my lifeline here.
Okay.
Yeah. So what was it, May 26, 1907?
Yeah.
Famous actor. Ooh. John Wayne.
Yep, all John Wayne. The Duke was born here in Iowa. And then last one, it's another TV show character / movie character, sci-fi though. was born in Riverside, Iowa.
I saw this earlier last week. That is Captain Kirk.
Yes. Did you see the plaque?
I actually didn't see the flag. No, I was reading up on my Iowa materials, getting to know the state a little bit better, and I noticed that Captain Kirk. Yeah, it was. I
was hoping I tricked you up with that when I said born in Iowa. All right, you passed our test. We'll keep you for the president of Iowa Speedway.
Fantastic, and you've got the Field of Dreams movie, and then here you've got the Infield of Dreams.
Yep, exactly. Man, I'm telling you, you're going to fit perfectly here. We're going to have fun with you.
We're going to have a lot of fun.
Oh, I'm so excited about it. Can't wait for you guys' schedule. We need to make sure tickets still available. Season tickets starting at $95.
Yes, sir. It's starting at $95. We've extended the season ticket renewal deadline to Sunday, January 5th.
Okay.
And then beginning Monday, January 6th, fans will be able to buy individual event tickets and weekend packages. So really excited. They can go to iowaspeedway.com or call 866-RUSTY-GO.
866-RUSTY-GO. Listen, Jimmy Small, Iowa Speedway president, greatly appreciate your time. And the next time you're over in the Council Bluffs, Omaha area, make sure to look us up, and we'll get you some races over at Joe's Karting. It's an indoor karting facility that there is no governors on those engines. It's all about how fast you can go.
All right.
We'd love to challenge you. We'd love to challenge you to a race. Have a great weekend, Jimmy. Thanks so much for your time.
All right, you too.
It's back again this year. Make memories at Quaker Steak & Lube on Monday, December 16th, and have dinner with Santa. Mr. and Mrs. Claus love the lube, and your family will too, with free photos with Santa. And the kids could win one of 3 Razor scooters we're giving away. Don't forget, stock up on the lube gift cards, the perfect stocking stuffer. Dinner with Mr. and Mrs. Claus, Monday, December 16th from 5 until 8 p.m. And don't forget, kids eat free with an adult purchase. Quaker Steak & Lube, next to the Mid-America Center, Council Bluffs.
Are you ready for fast-paced, adrenaline-pumping, wheel-to-wheel racing right here in the Metro? Get to Joe's Karting in Council Bluffs and see what it's like to race real go-karts. Joe's Karting knows it's no fun to race go-karts at 10 miles per hour, so they ripped the governors out, and now the only restriction is how good you are at racing. It's full-throttle, white-knuckle racing every day of the week. Head over to joeskarting.com for hours, prices, and specials, or give Buddy a call today and set up your group races at 712-256-5278.
Time to grab another tear-off and make your move. We're headed into Turn 3 on the front stretch, presented by Joe's Karting.
Heading into Turn 3 on the front stretch, presented by Joe's Karting at Council Bluffs, online at joeskarting.com. That's karting with a K. Get to Joe's today. Fast-paced white-knuckle racing, great for bachelor parties, great for family outings. My family, it's become a family tradition for us. When all the family gets back together for Christmas, we take one night, we go up to Quaker Steak & Lube, grab a bite to eat, and then we go over to Joe's and do a little bit of racing.
We know this, Dan, because we always get a call from the rescue squad.
Yeah, you guys have banned the family once or twice, and I appreciate you letting us back in.
It's not the family, it's you.
We're on the phone tonight as a part of the Legends of the Dirt series brought to you by Kaziski Auto Parts. We're talking with Johnny the Jet Sadoff. Johnny, thanks so much for joining us.
No problem.
Johnny, let's start from the beginning. Talk about getting into dirt racing. I don't know much about the beginning of it. I've only got been a part of the sport for now 2 years. So was it a family thing that you got involved in it, or was it something that you were a first generation?
No, it was a family deal. My dad had 8 brothers and 3 sisters, and they all got together back in the 50s and decided that they were going to race, and they had a car with 96,000 miles on it. They stripped it all down and took it to the racetrack and started racing. And back then I think there was times you could actually take the car to the track and tape up the headlights and race it, and then when you're done, untape the headlights and drive it back home. But that's where the 96 come from. And my dad had a couple brothers that raced, and my dad actually was one of the guys that ran some racetracks, like Playland Speedway up there in Omaha, and he worked at Sunset Speedway, Midwest Speedway in Lincoln, and my dad did a lot of promoting, and he owned the race cars, but always his brothers were the ones that drove them. So,
did your dad own a salvage yard? Is that correct?
Yeah. My dad actually had Northeast Auto Salvage Yard down here in Beatrice, and, that's where I grew up, was ripping around in that junkyard with them old cars. We had about 15 acres of land and just a bunch of old cars. We'd always drive them around, tear them up, do a little demo derbying once in a while on weekends. And my dad would always, we'd start a car and kind of play around with it and check the motor out. My dad would say, take her up the road and check her out, So I'd slide her back and forth from ditch to ditch and
that's where
all the gravel off the road,
That's where the name the Jet came from, right?
No, actually, I got the name, the Jet, Johnny the Jet Rogers. In 1980, I won a heat race. It had been my first year racing, and it was about the fourth or fifth week I was racing, and I won a heat race, and Dallas Party, I got out of the car, and he goes, man, you were jetting around there just like Johnny the Jet Rogers, and it just stuck, and a crazy deal, Johnny the Jet Rogers used to hang out with my mom's brother in Lincoln when my mom's brother worked at the old Continental Trailways bus place back in the 70s. And he used to hang out down there, and my mom's brother used to get me his autograph all the time. He used to always sign it like Johnny the Jet, the real Jet, and stuff like that. And then he'd give them to me,
So the Rogers was just kind of Johnny Rogers is just kind of an imposter. You were the real Jet.
Yeah, there you go. You bet.
I'm sure that's going to make a lot of Nebraska fans around here happy. I just said that.
Now that I know that Johnny's dad raced, and his dad had 8 brothers and 3 sisters, that makes me wonder, if the Jet didn't come from a regular Air Force kind of household.
They lived up, there's one of the deals, they had to walk to school uphill both ways in 5 foot of snow, and they had one bathroom that
we've heard those.
Water, and I mean, there's all the stories, 8 brothers and 3 sisters, and you imagine, I remember when I was a little kid, they showed me in the house where he grew up, and I think they had it pretty rough back in the day.
How important was that big family setting into preparing you and getting you into the sport of racing?
Well, it just seemed like it was a natural deal that that's what I had to do, because that's what all my dad's brothers were doing. They were racing, and where my dad was the one that owned the junkyard where all the racers got their parts, it was kind of like it was just a natural fit that that's what I was going to have to do. But when it come down to it, and I was racing some motorcycles, messing around, and all of a sudden my dad says, well, we're going to build this car for you and you're going to drive it. And I'm like, no, I'm not. And he goes, yes, you are. And I got stuck in there, and that's when I started driving it.
Was that the last time you said no when it came to getting behind the wheel of a dirt car?
Yeah, exactly. It was. I probably, once you got in there, and I was hooked, but I was more tear around the junkyard or on the street, I guess, and the circle track on dirt would probably be the last thing I, always wanted to do it, but just never thought I'd probably get the chance.
I've asked you this before, but I'm going to ask you again just to be safe. We had a colorful gentleman on the radio show a few years ago named Brody Tulloch from Australia, and he was reading off some results from Beatrice Speedway, and it was Beatrice won, Beatrice hometown, Beatrice won, and it just kept happening. And we read off I-80 Speedway, and same thing. It was Beatrice from Beatrice. Is there something in the water in Beatrice? Is it jet fuel?
I don't know. Yeah,
jet fuel.
I got a 100, and I think it's 137 wins at Beatrice Speedway alone, 8 features.
Jeez.
And then a lot of people say, well, you've been racing there since 1980, but I raced there from 1980 to 1986, and then I started racing NASCAR. Like at Sunset Speedway, Eagle Raceway. I started doing late models, and then I'm on Busch All-Star Tour. I never come back to Beatrice Speedway till 1996. I was gone from there for 10 years.
That's where I know Johnny from, is the Busch All-Star Tour. I remember my dad and I, I'm just knee-high to a grasshopper, and I'm sitting in the stands at Sunset Speedway, and here comes Johnny the Jet off turn 2, and he's 3-wheeling the late model. We've never seen that. For all we knew back then, we thought Johnny had like a 1,000-horse piece under the hood. We're like, what in the world is that? So, for me, Johnny's one of the guys that got me hooked into racing. If anybody can do that, that was like God driving a race car.
I was one of the first ones that could pull the left front wheel off the ground. I'll say that, back in the day.
400 feature wins so far in your career. How many more were you able to add to that since we tallied up these numbers? Do you have a running number in your head?
Actually, I won 8 this year. So, my wins they're a little bit more fewer between, but 8 feature wins this year added to it all. I mean, I don't even know exactly where that puts me. I mean, we got a hero card and stuff. We keep track of everything. And I've got a scrapbook that my mom started in 1980. And every year I got a new scrapbook. And at the end of the scrapbook, it shows every heat race finish, every feature finish, and what I won. And you look back, like right now in my scrapbook, I can look it up, 1980. I never won an A feature. I won a B feature. And I won $1,617 in 1980.
Jeez.
You know what I mean? I've got it all the way up to 1996. I won $84,000 in one season in 1996.
Well, let's talk about some of those big wins. Lee Ackerman here tallied up a lot of the big wins. And this was I was reading through some of your stats that Lee provided for us. One of your major victories included a $25,000 race at Texas Gold Rush. It was supposed to pay $50,000. Did the check bounce? What happened there?
Yeah, tell him that story that you told me, Johnny.
Yeah, Lee's on this deal. He wants to do a story about these old big races that we used to go to and we never got paid. But, I actually went down there. I built the very first modified, the jet racing we ever built in 1995, and I went down to the Gold Rush, and I actually won the heat, and they had a qualifying deal and a time trial. I won it all. I was supposed to come back the next day and start on the pole for $50,000 to win. And they had a deal after the race. They told us we needed to go to a claim area. And there was a fence, and I pulled in on the wrong side of the fence, and I was in what they called the tech area. Well, make a long story short, they disqualified me in 95. I won everything there was there to win except for the main event. I was going to start on the pole, the main event, and they disqualified me.
Because you pulled on the wrong side of the fence.
Yep. And, we were screaming and hollering back and forth. So I got mad. I loaded up, and I left. So then we go back down there the next year, and I did everything exactly the same. I won the heat race. I won the qualifier. I won the time trials they had. Started on the pole for the $50,000 to win, and I won it. And we were loading my car, and I went straight over the pay window, and I stood there, and I waited for the pay window to open. And they opened the pay window, and they said, "Oh, Johnny, okay, yeah, well, you're getting all the money, so you need to wait a little bit. We got to get some of these other guys taken care of first." And this was on a Sunday afternoon at like 4:30 in the afternoon.
Yeah.
And at 8 o'clock that night, I was screaming and hollering and raising heck with people. I still had not got my money. And he finally opened his briefcase. He had a check that was made out already, $25,000. Basically, take it or leave it. That's all I'm going to give you. The pits were cleared out. So it's finally, I leave. I come all the way home. I'm pissed. I only got $25,000. I want a race that pays $50,000, and I only get $25,000.
Yeah.
I get home. I take the check to my banker, told my banker the whole story, went and talked to an attorney. Then the attorney, we talked about it a little bit, and then I left. And before I even got back to the shop, my banker called me and told me that check is no good.
Oh, it bounced?
Yeah. It was no good. Wasn't
this the guy that was living in the fancy house but was just living there? He didn't own it?
His name was Randy Cathrell. I still got everything I put together where I was going to sue him. I've got all the tapes from when they were running the race on TV down there. I got the shirt. I got like a flyer and stuff, and I was going to sue him. He lived on the property. There's probably $1 million home on the property of the racetrack. Come to find out, when I called them people, they said, no, when he runs that race, we got a little room in the basement we rent him. So this guy, I still have the original $25,000 check from that day. I still have it. They ended up, I had to get an attorney, and then back and forth, and by Thursday, I got the $25,000 wired into my account.
But you never got your full 50?
Never got the full 50.
Oh, Jesus. Is that a name is that a name that is just burned into your memory?
Oh, my God, yeah. That's like one of them guys that you would just...
We'd have never guessed.
You would just love to meet somewhere in a dark alley behind a building or something, I mean, if I seen him, I guarantee you, it's been since '96. I would know that guy if I seen him.
Now, one of the questions we usually ask people is, I'm sorry to do this, but what was your biggest payday? Was there one that came bigger than that may have left that bitter taste a little less, or was that supposed to be your biggest payday of your career?
Well, that would have been my biggest payday of ever. Except the Justin Stanfield Memorial Race in West Plains is $10,000 to win, And a good story there was first night of qualifying, I was going to go, and none of my pit crew guys could go with me. So I didn't go. The second night of qualifying, Toby Cruz, who, was flagging at the time at Boone, he called me and says, how come you didn't go down to West Plains? And I said, can't find anybody to go with me. He goes, heck, I'll go. And I go, all right. So I loaded my car, jumped in my rig, and I took off, and I picked up Toby Cruz over on Interstate 29, and we went down there, and I'll guarantee you, Toby Cruz does not know which way to even take a wheel and tire off a car.
I know the feeling.
He has no idea. And Toby's story was always good because Toby always told the story that we got down there, and he said, Johnny had me working. We had the wheels and tires off the car. We jacked it up. We changed all 4 springs. We changed all 4 shocks. And then he says, we changed all 4 springs again. We put the wheels, tires back on. And then he said, we finally went out to hot lap. And then he says, we come in, we took all 4 springs out of the car again. And I was working Toby to the bone. But then it was, there was probably 180 to 200 cars there. They started at 3 wide, 10,000 to win, and I took the lead with like 5 laps to go for $10,000. Pretty cool.
When you take that lead, do you start counting dollar signs, or do you not count your chickens before they come home to roost?
Yeah, I get real nervous. I don't even think about the money. I just get nervous, because what's going to happen, what's going to fall off the car, they used to have that IMCA Series Deary Brothers race down there in, now I can't even think of the track, Burlington, Iowa. And they used to have a 10,000 to win late model race down there. It was 100 laps. I passed Gary Webb for the lead 60 laps into this thing and led it. And lap 84, a lap car blew up across the track in front of me. The flagman waved him off. He waved him across, went right in front of me, and I run right into him.
Oh.
And I went spinning in the infield and come back out on the track and fell back to 4th and went all the way back to 2nd. And ended up getting 2nd. Gary Webb won it, and it was 10,000 to win, and that was in 1993.
We talked to Gary Webb, and we'll talk to him in a couple of weeks. We'll see if we can remember to ask him about that win.
Yes, definitely, because it was it was him and Steve Bully and me. That was the guys up front battling.
We're talking with the Jet, Johnny the Jet Sadoff, as a part of the Legends of the Dirt series. Johnny, we're going to take a break, pay a couple of bills. We'll be back to talk about later in your career, more big wins, and the design, the creation of jet chassis. We'll be right back here on the Front Stretch, presented by Joe's Karting in Council Bluffs on AM 590, Omaha's ESPN Radio.
We have all been there before. Broken car part in your hand and some snot-nosed punk behind the counter has no idea what he is talking about, but he guarantees that this part will fix your car. You pay an arm and a leg for the replacement, get it home, and sure enough, it doesn't fit your car. Now, learn from your mistake and give an experienced salesperson at Kosiski Auto Parts a call today at 402-731-4592. Kosiski Auto Parts will get you back on the road with your arms and legs still attached.
Get ready for the victory lap as we make our way into Turn 4 on the Front Stretch, presented by Joe's Karting, online at joeskarting.com.
Working on wrapping this baby up, putting a little bit of wedge into it. We got a little bit of loose. We got a little loose during that commercial break. But the Front Stretch, presented by Joe's Karting in Council Bluffs, online at joeskarting.com. That's karting with a K. Fantastic sponsors and supporters and creators of what we have today is the Front Stretch. Always thank you to Joe's Karting and Kosiski Auto Parts for bringing us year 2 of the Legends of the Dirt series. We're talking with the Jet, Johnny Sadoff. Johnny, a couple of months ago, you wrapped up over at Vegas. You've had yourself pretty good luck at the Duel in the Desert. Talk about your year again this year.
Went over there, and Jeremy Payne, who won it last year, he actually, I didn't make the show. I had a little bit of bad luck running into everything on the track, I think, and I think I need to get my eyes checked. But Payne actually passed Terry Phillips there with 10 laps to go, and my 96J car, we put a P on it, call it 96JP, and what's crazy is we figured up, I won that race in 04, and then I met Payne in 05, and I took Payne with me out there, and I was leading in 05, and he passed me with like 3 to go, and he won it in 05, and then we come back in 06, and he passed me again and won it in 06. And then, they kept taking the money away from me, but I mean, it's still, Then in 2009, I won it, and then he won it again in 12 and 13. But
that brings me to the question of, when you get beat by your own chassis, is it a sense of pride or a sense of, dang it?
I was on Dylan Smith about that. I said, you're leading the Tiny Lund, and you got passed by your own car. I go, it's all about the money. The check is going to you, but it's just right down in there. You're a racer. You're not worried about that check. You're worried about winning. He goes, yeah, that's right. That's right.
So
man, there's no way you can explain that feeling when your own car passes you for the lead on the last lap or something.
We were talking during the break. You mentioned that you had something like 6 wins out of the last 10 Duel in the Deserts. What is it about the Jet chassis that does so good out there in the Duel?
I think it's that Impala stub. The track is so slow and so slick. It's nothing like what we race around here. And for what I can do difference to my setup on my car that a lot of people can't do to their car, meaning the Chevelle stub car they have, a lot of stuff that of my car being so much wider, I think, and the car gets on the nose so much better and holds the corner as that slick. For whatever reason, or maybe it's just Jeremy Payne driving my car. But
no, we'll say it's the chassis.
For whatever reason, yeah, I'm going to go with it's the chassis. And it's the guy set it up.
Sounds better.
Car up. It's funny that I can set up 2 cars identical the same, and he can win it the last 2 years in a row. And last year I got 13th, and this year I didn't even make the show.
Yeah. And we've talked about that it's all down to the driving style, and you can't set it up the same for everybody.
Right, yep.
Some of these other big
we go out there with the same setup and the same looking car. He wears my uniform, and they make the check out to me at the end of the night. So that's the good part.
You've won some pretty big races in your career. You've won 6 Beatrice Spring National Championships, 5 Oktoberfests, 3 Cornhusker Classics at I-80, 2 Jayhawk Nationals. No, this isn't a Christmas carol, by the way, but it's starting to sound like the 12 days of Christmas. You've won the Tiny Lund. You've won the Harris Clash. You've won USMTS Fall Jamborees. Tell me your favorite win of all time and why.
I guess it would have to be the West Plains 10,000 to win, just because of Toby going with me, and we were just winging it. We went down there to have a good time, and then we come home with the money. And the other one would probably be the Fall Jamboree, because that Fall Jamboree, that's one on. Staley's kept that going for a really long time. But there's so many, there's so many people that they'll come up to me and they'll say, hey, remember when I went to this racetrack with you? And we did this and this and this, and we won that race. That was just unbelievable, And then it's kind of like, oh, yeah, I remember that, And it's like I've got everything wrote down in a scrapbook, but there's only certain ones that really stick with you, I mean, one of them would probably be the Ron F. Camp Memorial Race in Boone, Iowa. I won it that one year, and I started on the pole, and then that's all I heard for the rest of the weekend. Well, yeah, you started on the front row. And then I come back next year, and there was 12 cars in at a card game, and I started last row, and I took the lead on the last lap. So I won it 2 years in a row, and the first year I won it from the pole, and the next year I won it from dead last.
You decided to start creating your own chassis and selling them to people. We'll talk about that process a little bit in creating the Jet chassis.
Well, I mean, I guess we were racing late models for many years, and when we started building the mods, I was still racing the late model. We just built a mod just to more or less kind of play around. And we were actually selling some late model parts. And like I was talking to Brian Burkhofer, we had the year there where I won a bunch of money and he won a bunch of money, but his was like triple what I won. I mean, he was won like almost $200,000. And that was the year that he decided to go racing full time for a living.
Yeah.
And that was the year that I decided to start jet racing. And it's like he was here about 5-6 years ago, and we went out and ate supper, and we got talking about that. And I said, it's crazy. I said, the way you went and the way I went, I said, I wish I would have followed in your steps, Tried to do the racing for, full time to make a living out of it. But that would have been a rough road, too, though, I'm sure. But I don't know if it'd be any rougher than trying to build the race cars, sell race cars, and get race cars to win, I mean, right now I kind of sit back in the back seat and let Dylan Smith and Jesse Sobbing do all the winning.
Had you decided to not go the chassis route and you decided to go the Berkhofer route and race full time, was your goal to get up to NASCAR and start racing asphalt, or did you want to stay on dirt?
Well, no, I probably would have wanted to go to asphalt. I had the chance when Bob Hill was driving the ARCA car for Larry Clement, and when Bob Hill quit, I asked Larry if I could drive that ARCA car, and Larry said, if you sell your late models, bring me that money, or give me your late models, you can finish out the year in this ARCA car. And at that time, probably between my two late models, I probably wasn't $30,000, probably between the two. But it's like, I was like, are you crazy? I'm not going to give you my late models. I'm not going to sell my late models to drive that ARCA car. But now you think back, it might have been a perfect time. I know Joe Koziski did it, and Steve Koziski kind of played around a little bit on the dirt. But like Joe, I remember Joe always told me it's a really bad habit when you go drive a ARCA car and you just get hooked, and you'll spend every dime you got to go do it again until you find out either you're out of money or you just, you're not going to get a sponsor. You just need to stop,
Mm-hmm.
Well, I know Joe has mentioned he's ran in Atlanta back many years ago in ARCA, and he said he'd go and he got his check for $4,400 or what it was, and then he went to pay for his tires, and they were $4,800. So it takes deep pockets, and that's with everything going right for you.
Right. I've seen pictures of Joe. He slid down the whole backstretch of Talladega on his roof in an ARCA car.
Yeah, and he got T-boned at Atlanta one year, too. He was running fourth, and the guy came right off the wall and bang.
What has been your most jarring accident in your career?
Well, I got to say I got a couple, because I had that where I was running a late model in Burlington, Iowa, and got wrecked into the wall and dislocated my shoulder, and actually come back and tried to race the next night at Busch All-Star Tour in Park Jefferson with my other car with a dislocated shoulder. Jeez. And didn't even realize it. And then, of course, in 1993 out there in Grand Island, where I flipped end over end, my car started on fire, and I got burns. I got third-degree burns on my left shoulder and my left leg. And I'll tell you, there's nothing worse than laying in a hospital bed while they're peeling skin. I mean, that's just the worst thing in the world, And I was in Grand Island, and they were going to get a helicopter and fly me to St. E's. And I talked them into, no, I got a guy that's he'll take me there. I don't need the helicopter. I can't afford that, blah, blah, blah. So they let me go, and I went straight home. I went to my doctor here in Beatrice, and I told him, I said, I'm third in the Busch All-Star Tour points. I got a race next week. I got to be able to go to it. So he said, you come in here every day. So I went in every day, and I'd lay there on the bed. He would sit there with the tweezers, and they would peel skin. And, I mean, it started out as gritting your teeth and squeezing your fist, and by the time at the end, you were just so wore out, and just couldn't take it no more.
Oh, man.
But then I showed up up in Iowa for a Busch All-Star Tour, ran 6th. There was a nice story about it. Lee might even remember the story. It was in the Hawkeye Racing News.
Yep.
About that I showed up late. They wouldn't let me race. I had to get an approval from my doctor, sent to Daytona Beach from NASCAR guys to let me race, and then they let me race. And I went to Burlington, Iowa the next night, won the Busch All-Star Tour race, one of the biggest races ever. Bob Hill left his car on the front straightaway and had to walk me back from my truck and trailer, so I was so weak I couldn't even really walk. Joe Koziski got third, and Joe always told Bob, he says, you let him win. But I won that race, and that was, that's probably one of the biggest, when you think about it, that would be the biggest memorial memory race that I've ever raced, that I guess with Bob Hill, because Bob Hill went on, he ran ARCA and stuff, and made something out of himself. So
you talk about that horrific accident out there in Grand Island when you went back and saw your doctor, and you laid there in the room for 5 days, and he's peeling the skin off your legs with a pair of tweezers. Just last fall, we had a professional football player saying race car drivers aren't athletes. If somebody was to come up to the jet and say, football's football, baseball, baseball, but, these racers, they're not real athletes, what do you say to that?
I guess I'm not going to be able to be the guy that jump out of the car and kick everybody's butt and an athlete that way, and I'm not going to be the guy that can freaking run 5 miles and an athlete that way. But, you put me in a car for 100 laps, I used to, the Sunset Speedway, I ran a 30-lap feature in in my late model and jumped out of my late model and got in another late model and run 100 laps, back when they used to run the, like the Winston 50s, and then they'd run the Cornhusker, up there Sunset. But I think that it takes a different mentality, or it takes a different setting to be able to do something like that. And I think a guy's got to be pretty fit to be able to sit in that car in the heat and be able to keep focused on what you're doing and be able to drive the car to the end and not, I think for me it's more adrenaline that keeps me going than anything, but something keeps me going that I can get it done and it don't bother me.
We're talking to Johnny the Jet Sadoff, just about ready to wrap it up here on the Legends of Tomorrow. The Legends of the Dirt Series, brought to you by Kaziski Auto Parts. Last question for me, Johnny. You've had drivers like Dylan Smith and Jesse Sobbing and Jeremy Payne and a lot of really, really top-notch drivers that have sat down in your car. How much have you worked with them to perfect Jet chassis?
If we probably go back to when Dylan won his national title, it would have been in 2009. Dylan Smith won his national title, and Mike Goki was crewing for the car. Mike Goki used to crew for me back in the 90s when we won some national titles. And from that point on, we've always worked together. And Goki went a different path, started doing some other things with different people, different cars. And then he come back to me, and we built Dylan a car, and then Dylan went out and won a national title. And as I'd say, that's a team effort. Mm-hmm. Dylan was in the starting of his career, and to be able to come out and win a national title in a car that we built, working together with feedback from, Goki and I for over the years. And then, like Jesse Sobbing, he's a wheel. Look at what he's done coming from Sport Mod, going to A-Mod, and got 34 wins this year. And, the guy, he's just a wheel, but it all falls back to where we go to Boone, we get 10, 11 spots. We all park together. We go to Eagle Raceway. We got 10, 11 spots. The jet cars all park together. It's all about helping the other jet guy beside you. And that's what seems like to me that wins races is working together, to not hiding anything from the other guy and working together to get them cars up front.
Johnny, when I go and I watch, Team Crazy or the Osceola Rocket or the Jet, I liken Smith and Goki. To me, that's almost your dirt track version of Jimmy Johnson and Chad Knaus. You never have one without the other. Now, I don't know who would play which part from time to time or night to night, but in your organization, and when I say your organization, you've got hundreds of cars. Do you see a lot of that with the Jet Mods, where you have just a top-notch pairing with a crew chief and a driver?
No, not hardly at all. And people don't understand. All these people, they buy cars and they just think that they can take them to the track and should be able to win. And you need to win the race at the shop, and you need to have the car set up, and you need to go to the track. And the track condition changes, you need to be able to make that change at the track and know what it's going to do to your car to win the race. And you got to be able to have a good crew chief that, like Goki, that can communicate with his driver. And so they're on the same page, because just because somebody walks up to Mike Goki and asks him, hey, my car's doing this, what should I do? Because he answers that is not the same as when he answers it for Dylan Smith, because Dylan Smith knows exactly what he's thinking, or Mike Goki knows exactly what Dylan's thinking, back and forth when they communicate. And, when I go to somebody flies me to a racetrack to help them, they tell me over the phone what their car is doing, and I can tell them what I think they need, but I go to the racetrack and help them. It's like, what? You were telling me your car was doing this and this. It's not. It's completely the opposite,
Well, Johnny, we appreciate your time, and we do appreciate what you do for this sport, and we can't wait to see you out in 2014.
All right, buddy. Appreciate it.
Have a good holiday season, bud.
Take care, Johnny.
Take care.
Thanks, John.
You bet. Thanks.
All right, Don O'Neill is up next weekend for the Legends of the Dirt Series. Everybody have a great holiday season, have a great New Year's, and we'll talk to you again in 2014.
It's back again this year. Make memories at Quaker Steak & Lube on Monday, December 16th, and have dinner with Santa. Mr. and Mrs. Claus love the Loop, and your family will too, with free photos with Santa. And the kids could win one of 3 Razor scooters we're giving away. Don't forget, stock up on the Loop gift cards, the perfect stocking stuffer. Dinner with Mr. and Mrs. Claus, Monday, December 16th from 5 until 8 p.m. And don't forget, kids eat free with an adult purchase. Quaker Stick and Loop, next to the Mid-America Center, Council Bluffs. 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 Center, Council Bluffs.